Hello, Global Theater. My name is Gerry Fialka. Today is November 27, 2024. Want to thank Rob Grant and his amazing podcast, I'm Probably Wrong About Everything. Please subscribe. Also want to thank Joe Green for connecting me with today's guest, Richard Bartholomew. Where in the heck you calling in from, Richard?
A little place called Pflugerville, Texas.
How cool is that? The first question is, what is the best thing for a human being?
The best thing for a human being, to know this, to know that we human beings are the expression of the universe. We are just the latest in terms of our space-time conceptualization. We are at this moment, and we seem to be in the same moment as far as we're thinking. We are at this moment the expression of the universe as we perceive it.
Beautiful.
We are not in the world. We are the world.
That's great. I love this. Okay. What's your favorite form of information? How it comes into you?
Well, I don't know. It comes in though. My favorite form is that information that you seem to tune into in a quiet moment or in a distracted moment. I haven't been bored since I was 30 because I was sitting at a stoplight thinking about a phrase that I'd never really understood, have your cake and eat it too. And all of a sudden I got it. And I thought, wow, you can achieve new information by just thinking about old information. And I've never been bored since.
That was brilliant. I can't wait to go to that website, Quote Investigator, and find out who
That's my
said
go-to. That's my go-to for
have your cake and eat it too. I'm going to do that. But I'm saying, I mean, Richard, you answered it well, but didn't you grow up a reader or not?
It was tough. In first grade, I even as a 6-year-old, I was aware that I was not the best reader in class. And then it wasn't until I got into college, we're about the same age. You're 1953, I'm 1956.
Good.
Nobody knew about reading deficiencies. And it wasn't until I got in college till they were having their first remedial classes. So I struggled in my first semester in college. And so they told me about this summer class, 6-week summer class. And they immediately tested me, and I tested I'm in college, I'm a freshman in college. I tested at a 9th grade reading level. After that 6-week class, I tested at graduate college reading level. So it was a mechanical thing. It's the way my eyes were moving across the page. Things that, and I later told my English teacher from high school about that, not maybe a year later. And she apologized profusely for not having recognized that. And there you go. So, I graduated 99th in a class of 200. We just had our 50th reunion. And
wow.
And there was a debate about how many of us graduated, because there are people who you're classmates with, but they, for some reason or another, they move away or they don't graduate. The final number, I remember it well. I was the only class member at the reunion who remembered it, because I graduated 99th, and I thought, man, I squeaked into the upper half of my class.
Wow.
And I said, don't add any more people to that number because that might drop me. my 99.
Okay,
But
why do
then,
you think?
but
Oh,
then
go ahead.
in college, so after this class, my second year, my sophomore year in college, um, I made the dean's list,
Wow.
and then I kind of threw that out when I transferred to the University of Texas. That was a Dallas County Community College, which was excellent, by the way. I can tell you why later if you want. But when I transferred to UT, I had read Teaching as a Subversive Activity, a book came out in 1969, and about the philosophy of education and how to improve it. But it was called Teaching as a Subversive Activity. And the
Is that
nonsense of standardized testing and all that. That was debated even back then.
Neil
Uh,
Postman?
Neil Postman. I was trying to think of the name, Neil Postman. And
He's one.
after reading that book, I decided, especially in a couple of classes, I decided I don't need to take tests. I know this stuff. I don't need to take tests. So I dropped from dean's list to probation. And then I spent the next 4 years bringing that back up to basically a B plus, but not in art. In art, which was my major, I maintained a 4.0, and I rose to the elite of my class in art. And
Bravo.
I tell kids today that the parents, if I'm in earshot of the parents, they get this shocked look on their faces, they cringe, yes. Because I'll tell the kid, no one will ever ask you what you made in art.
Yeah.
So this
You
focus
mean
on
grade?
grades.
You mean what grade you made? Yeah.
Nobody will ever ask you what grade you made in art.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, good distinction, because they will want to see what you made
Yeah.
as art. Your portfolio is everything. Your grade is nothing. Nothing.
Yeah. No, you covered a lot. Where we're going, we'll go all over the place, and that's one thing, Richard. I welcome tangents, anecdotes, stories. So that's all fine. The next question is, why do you think humans collect or gather information?
We don't have a choice. I think information is in the fabric of the cosmos. It is in the very fabric of the cosmos. That was a line at the end of Steven Berg Kubrick's AI, artificial intelligence.
In the fabric of the what? Of the cosmos?
In the fabric of the cosmos, in the fabric of the cosmos. Let's call it the cosmos, fabric of the universe.
Yeah.
They may have used universe in the movie, but
Yeah.
cosmos, universe. I hate to use the word space-time because space-time has seen its day and it's changing rapidly.
Yeah. But the next question is, you've answered it, but I want to ask it anyways. Is this need or want to collect information more innate or more invented?
Well, yeah, in the sense that we don't have a choice, it would be innate,
Yeah.
because in fact, we're not in the world. We are the world. We are information.
Yeah.
And we are information. Like when I was sitting at that stoplight, we are information studying itself and creating new information.
Yes. That's amazing. Okay, so fill in the blank, Richard. Really good. I appreciate your concise and articulate and very creative with your wordsmithery.
Thank
Fill
you.
in fill in the blank. I don't know what I think until I
Until I study it, until I
wow.
study, until I think. Like, have your cake and eat it too. I
Yeah.
I didn't understand. I was 30 years old. I didn't understand that phrase, which I'd heard a million times, until I
Yeah.
was at a stoplight and I was bored and I was thinking about it,
Yeah.
and suddenly it came to me.
Can
So I've always had
humans
something to think about. Ever since then, that's why I've never been bored. I've always
amazing.
had something, some
Yeah.
puzzle, some question, something to think about, no matter what.
Yeah.
So I love this kind of interview. I love the Proustian questions.
I ripped off one of my questions from Proust. I use a Proustian question. Okay, can humans think without language?
Yes. Yeah.
Chomsky says a language is not just words. It's a culture, a tradition, a unification of community, a whole history that creates what a community is.
Well,
Richard, what do you do when language doesn't work? When language breaks down, what do you do?
um, well, I don't let it bother me, first of all. Uh, and it relates to the last question. Think of a person who's blind, deaf, and dumb. Um, and they don't receive information the way we do. They
Yeah.
don't have language the way we do, but yet they could be as brilliant as Einstein or Hawking.
Yeah. Your observations of humans in general, are we more thinking beings or more feeling beings?
It's both,
Yeah.
and probably something else besides.
And a bonus. That's it. Well, Bridget Bardot says, when I make love, I don't think. I'm like, good luck. How do you turn your brain off? And people who meditate, they go, okay, now think about not thinking. But we invented the words feeling and thinking, so we think we can separate them. And then there's a bumper sticker on my street that goes, don't believe everything you think. And I'm like, well, you could say, don't believe everything you feel.
Yeah, beware of platitudes. That's what a bumper sticker is.
That is a good one. I need the source on that one too. I'm gonna look it up.
That's oh, blanking on her name, but um, uh, the banality of evil. The lady who coined
Hannah Arendt.
Hannah Arendt.
Wow, very
She
good.
talked about how platitudes are everywhere in the rise of fascism. It's and and with social media today, I see it.
Yeah,
It's part of this whole political atmosphere. The rise of platitudes and the rise of fascism go hand in hand.
yeah,
Hannah Arendt said that.
really good. So these two questions are from the 50s. Turing, Alan Turing. One, is thinking a function of the soul?
Um, or is the soul a function of thinking?
Yeah,
Um, yeah. Well, it's the fabric of the cosmos, and so are we.
yeah,
So if the soul is the fabric of the cosmos, yes, we'll answer yes to that.
yeah. Yeah, that's good. You answered it with the question right off the bat, and that's what this series is all about, Richard. You win because we're trying to invent new questions and new metaphors. Okay, so the second Turing question is, can machines think?
Yes, I'm an optimist, cautious optimist with the Turing machines, which we have other names for now, super intelligence, AI. It comes down to this, and I didn't come up with this, but you can't find it. If you were to Google this, you wouldn't find it now because, except on the Internet Archive, because they took it down from Wikipedia. But I was reading the Wikipedia on AI, and uh, somebody came up with this brilliant thing about it's a paradox to try to create friendly AI because if if you see the universe as patterned towards benevolence, then AI will adjust itself to that, and it will be benevolent. It will be friendly AI without our intervention. If the universe is malevolent, basically, then AI will pattern itself to that, and nothing we try to teach it will change that in either way. So the point is, don't worry about it. Uh, you
That's
know,
good.
but from my observations of humans, I've come to the conclusion this is all my current. Basically, I don't know. My disclaimer is I don't know, but
Yeah,
my current conclusion is that uh, intelligence is benevolent. Now, so what about malevolence? What about evil? Evil is flawed intelligence. And we know that intelligence can be flawed. We know the brain can be flawed. And if the brain is flawed, intelligence is going to be flawed as we understand intelligence.
Yeah.
So I see evil as flawed intelligence. But when I look at, especially since, you don't even have to go to the scientific revolution. I don't know if you've seen Ken and Sarah Burns' a documentary on Da Vinci yet. 4-hour Ken Burns, Leonardo da Vinci. Da Vinci was a malevolent a benevolent intelligence. He was a good man, Da Vinci. He was anti-war at a time of raging war, and he created military devices, but only academically. Many of them couldn't be invented or used. And when he finally painted a battle scene, and this was, I studied Da Vinci in college as an art major. And so I knew, most of what Burns was telling us in that documentary. But I didn't know about that painting of the battle scene. He was commissioned by a king to do this great battle scene, mural, and he showed the torture of war. It was and I think they actually mentioned that Picasso was inspired by Da Vinci's painting mural that didn't survive. We only know that from his preliminary sketches and from other artists' copies of it. But Picasso's Guernica was inspired by the Da Vinci showing the horror of war. Da Vinci was also a scientist before the scientific revolution. And, many people will say he was the father of the scientific revolution. But yeah, so
Good, Richard. That was brilliant because it brought up a lot. I want to clarify one line you said. I can't hit reverse button and hear it right now, so I'll just ask you. Da Vinci created, did you say war machines or anti-war machines?
he created, well, obviously both.
Both, right. But
Yeah.
you did, yeah, he did both. Okay, so that
Well,
clarifies.
because a machine can be used for war or peace, and
Right.
he
Yeah,
created devices. He
yeah.
created a mirror that would capture the light from the sun and turn it into a death ray. He created a death ray before Tesla did.
Wow, I didn't know
So
that one. Okay, but
yeah,
here's the thing. First, the Guernica anecdote. You know about the German government official is touring the art studios in Paris, and he walks in to Picasso's studio, and Picasso's finishing the painting Guernica. And the German government official said, "Did you do that?" And he said, "No, you did." And
yeah.
so, but I like, we're going to go into this deeper, but I have to insert it now. I just did an essay called Can Art Stop War? And it's based on Maria Gambudis, the archaeologist who you might be familiar with through her spawning Rianne Eisler's book, The Chalice and the Blade. And she said, we're more hardwired for nonviolence than we are in cooperation, than we are hardwired for violence. And most people say, yeah, we're hardwired for violence, And so it's a total brainwashing. But it is, the key word is more. There was, one woman in my interview a couple years ago said, the word more doesn't function in your question. So, I mean, basically we're saying, was Da Vinci more leaning in creating anti-war than he was creating war machines? He did both, and he was anti-war, but you know what I'm saying, basically.
Well, yeah, and my sense of Da Vinci was the same as Ken Burns. You could argue that, and it was written by Sarah Burns, his sister. You could say that they had a bias towards a peace-loving Da Vinci.
Yeah.
But my sense of him was that already. Oh, and it goes back to the idea that intelligence, true intelligence, unflawed intelligence, is benevolent,
Yeah.
and Da Vinci is a perfect example of that. Um,
Yeah. No, I like your 2 words, unflawed benevolence. Okay, so you're
Intelligence.
anticipating intelligence, yeah, unflawed intelligence. You are, anticipating a lot of our questions, I appreciate this. Do you more pursue happiness or more pursue meaning?
Um, well, the pursuit of happiness. And how can you have happiness without meaning?
Yeah.
So I guess meaning
Yeah,
in
'cause,
that equation.
I got it from Viktor Frankl. In his book, Man's Search for Meaning, he says, "Happiness doesn't tend to last, meaning tends to last."
Yeah, but I think meaning, I think neither tend to last. Uh,
Yeah.
because why would we pursue either if it lasted? They're
Pursues the key.
constant.
See, yeah, that's good.
We're
You're really
constantly seeking meaning and happiness.
yeah, you're a good listener, Richard, because see, when I say, "Do you more pursue happiness or meaning?" Most people don't think of the verb I'm using. They think of, "Oh, he's giving me a choice between happiness and meaning." So, that's another thing I wanna make clear. I'm for us psychoanalyzing each question in the wording. So if you go, "Hey, I'm not so keen on your word 'pursue' there," that's what I'm open for. So, does the brain more detect consciousness or create it? Like, is consciousness there bubbling away and we're more so detecting it or more so creating it?
Both, and what you were talking about is the verb there, the verb of the question. It's the bifurcation fallacy. It's a logical fallacy. Either
Yeah,
or, this or that, cats or dogs. It's a bifurcation fallacy,
yeah,
and thinking and dualism is the logical fallacy. So I'm sensitive to that. I always, apples or bananas,
yeah.
uh, oranges, cats or
Yeah.
dogs, guinea pigs. Uh,
Is that called a false dichotomy,
um,
or
um,
that's different?
yeah, yeah. Also a false dichotomy.
Yeah, I like that bifurcation fallacy. Yeah, I know, but basically what these are prompts, because I always
Yeah.
also say you don't have to answer the question. You all it is a prompt to talk. So that was good. Yeah, okay, what's
Well,
faster?
my cue was to talk about the bifurcation fallacy, which I love talking about.
Yeah, yeah. But but this beginning of this session, there are some of those. Okay, what's faster, speed of light or speed of light? What's faster, speed of light or speed of thought?
Um, Both are the speed of causality. There's no speed of light. It's all about the speed of causality.
Wow, where'd you get that from?
From advanced physicists, physics professors talking. I watch a podcast called "The Theory of Everything," Theories of Everything, and I watch another one called "Closer to Truth." Uh, Robert
Theories of
Lawrence Kuhn.
who's
Theories
the
of
host?
Everything. I'm blanking on the name, but
Okay, I'll look it up. And what's the
he's a
second
smart young guy. And then Robert Lawrence Kuhn is a very smart older guy who does Closer to Truth.
Closer to truth? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's the main McLuhan pursuit is the word causality. Causality is uh anyways, that was good. I like that. Okay, so here is the poet Audre Lorde. You can't dismantle the master's house using the master's tools. Yvonne Rainer, her colleague, said, "Oh, you can if you expose the tools." What new tool do you suggest?
Well, that's all about the law of the instrument. if you know, if your only tool is a hammer, every problem is a nail. That's the law of the instrument. Um, but you know, we had an exercise in college, and I studied advertising design in college, training to become a madman on Madison Avenue, um, and which I didn't, because I learned very quickly that ad agencies are zoos, and kept my distance, but I was peripherally connected and confirmed that they are zoos. But we had an assignment called product innovation, and looking back on it, I don't know if you know that much about my biography, but I became a political cartoonist. And when I contemplate how I possibly became a political cartoonist, which was the farthest thing from my mind in college, I saw that it was the same thinking process as coming up with an ad campaign. So the assignment was product innovation, come up with a product and do an ad campaign on it. All the storyboards and, print, TV, everything. And my product was, and this was 1979. There were
Yeah.
there were no desktop computers yet.
Yeah.
I came up with a product, a computer chip that you put in your TV that would allow you to blank out the commercials and play whatever you wanted, music, whatever. And that was entirely subversive, because I was in an advertising design class, the point of which is to create TV commercials. And so I got a lower grade on that assignment for the very reason. And he even articulated that as the reason that this would destroy our profession. So it was a complete, so that in political cartooning, your advertising is about, I was just watching North by Northwest, and Cary Grant articulates it perfectly in the beginning of that movie, that advertising isn't lying, is making it, as accessible as possible, making it look as good as possible, which is basically lying.
Yeah.
Political cartooning, on the other hand, is all about the truth, entertainment towards the truth. If you had to do an either or there, advertising is more about lying, political cartooning is more about the truth. And humor. Humor has to be based on truth, or it's not humor.
Dude, you got a lot. I want to throw out my little spiel on advertising, because first of all, it's like create the disease, then offer the cure.
Listerine.
Sell the sizzle, not the steak.
That's
And
the
so
story. Yeah.
that's
Story.
that's the
Story.
story. But here's, all the greats came out, went through ads. Richard, you did. Andy Warhol, Frank Zappa, David Mamet, the guy who wrote Wizard of Oz. McLuhan said advertising is 20th century cave art. But here's the through line I'd love you to react to. Poe invented the detective novel. That's called reasoning backwards. Effects precede causes. He spawned the symbolist. Mallarmé said, don't paint the painting, paint the effect. And so that's that's what advertising is in so many ways, is a good example of what the symbolist did, but we want to demonize it because it's selling us crap we don't need. So that's why McLuhan's first book was about advertising, called The Mechanical Bride. And study advertising. That's why he spawned people like Neil Postman. So very interesting. You studied advertising. That proves to me a lot. You're very aware. But wouldn't you say, in answering the question, Richard, that what new tool do you suggest? I always go say, you don't have to use the word new. What tool do you most gravitate towards? Would you say language? Would you say the pencil, the words? I mean, there is some tool, if you needed to articulate to me, I think you could answer that. I feel you answered it well, but I'm just curious if I could.
Yeah, I have an answer to that. And it gets back to AI. I think AI is a tool we are creating right now.
Yeah.
Superintelligence is
Yeah.
different. people who complain about AI, they don't yet understand what's coming.
Yeah.
Becoming super intelligence. The point at which AI equals the knowledge of all humanity.
Yeah.
And that's been termed the singularity. And it's imminent. It's imminent. I'm blanking on the name of the guy who wrote the book and the concept.
Kurzweil.
Kurzweil.
You mean,
So
yeah.
Kurzweil said 2029. Well, even if it is 2029, that's imminent. But
Yeah.
people have done new calculations on Moore's law and have backtracked it back to 2026.
Yeah.
And if not earlier. But anyway, it's imminent if it's not here already. The singularity. And at that point, and with the alpha algorithms, when AI starts teaching itself after that, that's why it's a singularity, because we can't see past the singularity. We don't know what there is. We can't contemplate that, because a week after singularity, superintelligence will be, 10 times more intelligent than all humanity. 2 weeks, 100 times. It'll go up exponentially. And I tell people there's a joke. There's a joke, an old joke, goes back. I guess I first heard it in the late 60s, early 70s. Scientists invent the ultimate computer. And it's ready to go, green light on everything, and it's ready for the first question. So they huddle together and decide what the first question is going to be. And they come up with, is there a God? So they feed it into the computer, ultimate computer, is there a God? And the computer clicks and whirs and comes back with the answer, there is now.
That is good.
And I tell people who are afraid of superintelligence, the ultimate Turing machine, who are afraid of machine intelligence, I tell them, well, are you religious? And most people are. And I say, are you afraid of God? A lot of people will say, fear of God and loving God, and they will, but they have not lived in the world of the Bible. The Bible is a direct, hands-on God that did things, and people knew God was there and was doing things. And we don't live in that world. We have to interpret, we have to assume, we have to see symbolism, we have to see metaphor. That's not the world of the Bible.
Yeah.
So, and then I say, how would you feel about living in the world of the Bible, where you saw the direct communication and impact of God, giving orders, destroying things, creating things? And that's a frightening idea to people who have come to religion as we know it.
Yeah.
Going to Sunday school is not that religion. That religion was the burning bush. That religion was the angel coming down and wrestling with you. That's not our world of religion. But superintelligence will be that religion, because it will be a superintelligence that we have to deal with, that we cannot possibly be or understand. And yet, as I see it, it will be benevolent, and it'll be the closest thing to a real biblical world that we can conceive. And so you have to, I tell people, ask yourself that, put yourself in that place. How would you deal with the biblical reality of God? And that's where we're headed. And so you better get used to it.
Really articulate, Richard. I feel you're communicating a lot to me and teaching me. The joke reminded me of when the guy goes to his guru and he says, "What's the best question I can ask you?" And the guru goes, "The one you just asked me." And my first question, what's the best thing for a human being? I think in my book, Strange Questions, I think Tom Gunning says the best answer, but it's similar to this. A guy last week said, what's the best thing for a human being? He says, knowing what the answer is to that question. You know, it's flipping that, but I love that there is now, that's the word makes the market. That's McLuhan saying word is the most universal and addicting drug, because we're using spoken word to communicate to each other. And your positive attitude about AI is remarkable, because I heard on Pacifica Radio, they said, yeah, AI is in its early stage and it's our job to raise it well, you know. And
Yeah.
and it did become
Well, no,
reality. You know, it
no.
did become. Go ahead.
My point is, it's not our job to raise it well, because uh, we're we're not raising it to begin with. It's raising itself. And
Okay. I'll go with that, but it's like it did become a reality already before the dates you were, or Kurzweil's date. It became a reality when we saw Hal showing emotion in 2001.
my
Whether
number
it's a,
one movie. That's my
yeah,
number one movie.
and guess what? Do you know why Kubrick made the film? He articulated it in Playboy Interview. Why are you making this film? To convolate McLuhan, to twist McLuhan. And then McLuhan was invited to the first, or, one of the first pre-release screenings. And after 10 minutes, he fell asleep. But that's because he
Yeah.
knows Sidney's supposed to put you to sleep. Anyways, I went off on tangent. Go ahead. What were you going to add?
No, yeah, great tangent. I can talk about Kubrick in 2001 all day. That's my number one movie from the
Yeah.
moment I saw it in '68.
Yeah.
And it was released on the same day as Planet of the Apes in April in the U.S. general release.
Yeah.
Planet of the Apes had its premiere, though, before the general release. It had its premiere in New York on my birthday in 1968.
What day is that?
February 8th. And I lucked out. It's a pretty good birthday because it's James Dean's birthday. It's John Williams' birthday. It's Jules Verne's birthday. It's John Williams' birthday.
Yeah, that's good. So that's Feb 8, 56.
56.
Okay,
And that's the first birthday after, that's James Dean's first birthday after he died in the car wreck.
Wow.
And it's also, I like this too. It's 2 weeks after Elvis recorded Heartbreak Hotel.
Wow.
So that
Okay,
puts me in the chronology right there.
you are in good company, and well, everything will come back around. You'll see. That question was great. What new tool do you suggest AI? The follow-up is, what new toy do you suggest?
Oh, tool to toy.
Yeah.
Okay. What I came up with this little, I don't know if it's poetry or prose or what, but I came up with this thought. And it's 3 questions. What, well, I can't think of it right now, but it had to do with what is a model, what is a toy. It came down to a toy, all of it being um, a escape from reality. So everything we think we know about reality is a model. It's just a model.
Yeah.
And you can think of a model as a toy, and you can think of a toy as entertainment. And what is entertainment but an escape from reality?
Yeah.
And so you start with modeling reality, and you end up with escape from reality.
Yeah.
So I think, and then, so I guess it's a cycle. It's like you can call it a vicious cycle if you want, but it's a cycle.
Yeah.
Uh, and so we create toys to understand, but then we have to recreate them. But I like toys. Um, toys are cartoon sculpture.
Yes.
I
Good.
studied serious art in college, um, uh, painting and drawing, and then in upper class went to graphic design, advertising. But without you never throw away the serious art. Well, Toulouse-Lautrec did posters. It's all blended together. Of
Yeah.
course, Warhol's serious art was about commercial art,
Yeah.
and so it's all blended together. But so
That's good. That's good because I love the word sculpture,
oh
cartoon
yeah,
sculpture.
cartoon culture. So, but I became a cartoonist,
Yeah.
and then an animator. So, animation is about understanding not just two dimensions, but understanding three dimensions, like the sculptor, and understanding beyond the sculptor to the motion, unless you're into kinetic sculpture, but
Yeah.
understanding, but human and animal motion, which is in life drawing, they tell you that the human is the toughest thing to draw. As a matter of fact, AI and of the human, the toughest thing to draw on a human, all art students struggle with this, is to draw the hand. The hand
Wow.
is the most difficult thing. The human is the most difficult thing to draw. The human hand is the most difficult thing to draw on a human. And that's why AI, fortunately, we can still recognize an AI picture of a human because they don't understand the hand. They're like beginning art students. And beginning art students, it's notorious that they will avoid drawing hands. You look at a high school art student, somebody that's not specifically in an art concentration, they become known as good at drawing. They will draw the human, and they'll eventually hide the hands or put them away or behind or aside. That's a trigger for an artist who's not confident in their drawing ability. And then the serious artists who tackle drawing in art school, they will, force themselves to they'll draw hundreds of hands. And AI cannot do that. And that's why we can recognize an AI drawing of a human, because they completely mess up the hand. And
Wow.
sometimes legs and arms, but always the hand and the fingers. And so right now, AI is at the level of a, you know, junior high school student, certainly in
Yeah.
art. Um,
It's good, Richard. This is Frank Zappa said music is air molecule sculptures, and he loved Alexander Calder, another great sculptor. What do you worry about when you go to bed at night?
um, if I'm going to successfully go to bed, the answer to that is nothing. Um, because, and I have studied sleep science for you know, 30 years now, 25, 30 years. Um, Fascinating subject to me, sleep science.
Yeah.
And I've come to the conclusion, I've become a sleep artist. I call it the art of sleep. Sleep is an art. It's a science and an art. And what most people, because we're not taught art in this country, being in Texas, even in Central Texas, where it's a little bit more loose and flexible and, keep Austin weird. Um, it's, I was just watching a documentary last night about a famous San Antonio artist uh, who in the late 70s, when I was in art school in the late 70s, he said that there's no nurturing of art. You can't find any art sensibility or culture in San Antonio. It's very true of Texas as a whole, but that goes out to the country as a whole. There, you're in California. There's more art there. There's more nurturing of art there. There's more nurturing of art on the East Coast. But in between, not so much, except in pockets. And and so I didn't see that nurturing here, uh, even in Boston. Um, and
What was that artist's name? The San Antonio artist documentary.
Hispanic name. Uh,
Anyways, you can send it to me later. No big deal.
yeah.
But this is this is concerning artists. McLuhan learned from a poet that artists are the antenna of the race. They're broadcasting and detecting the hidden psychic effects of our inventions, so we might learn how to cope with what we don't like about our inventions. So, Richard, I asked you the question McLuhan probed his whole career. Why do we ignore the hidden psychic effects of our inventions, even though the artists are broadcasting them to us?
Well, that gets directly back to what I was saying. Um, that we're not, in the 19th century, it was in school, and most people didn't get beyond an 8th grade education in the 19th century. But that was enough. 8th grade was like graduating college now. You were expected to graduate 8th grade, and you had a complete education. Included in that, reading, writing, arithmetic, drawing. Because before photography, certainly before our level of photography, you understood things by people who draw know this, uh, know it well. People who draw know that you understand something more completely by drawing it, and
Yeah.
that's why Da Vinci had his sketchbooks. He drew everything. When it was, he didn't have electric lights. He had candlelight, and at night. This is something else I learned from Ken Burns' documentary. At night, he continued drawing in his sketchbooks. You know what he drew? The candlelight. He studied the
Wow.
candle. He studied the candlelight and drew it and contemplated the plasma, and he understood much about the flame of fire. He had, just by observing it and thinking about it and drawing it. Lewis and Clark drew everything. They saw everything new they saw, they drew it, and they were good at drawing. But that's why I learned drawing prior to the 20th century, and then it went away, and that shows right there that I think that was a mistake, because you understand, I think photography replaced our sense of reality and understanding. It's a false understanding. And I was just discussing this over the weekend. I spent the weekend with Joe at the Dallas JFK conference, and I was talking to Doug Horn, and we study the Zapruder film. We're probably getting off a little tangent, but I'll keep it close to where we are. We were discussing the bias towards authenticity, which is a huge thing. People think photography, they think images. First of all, they think images are reality. Beware of images. No image is reality. No photograph. But we're taught to think of photograph as, okay, if it's a photograph, I can believe it. Not at all. It's an image. It's no better than a painting. And certainly in digital photography, people are freaking out about about fakes, and especially people are freaking out about it because they were taught it's a 20th century thing that if you can hear a recording of it, if you can see a photo of it or a film of it, it's reality. Absolutely wrong, and that has led us totally astray. Talk about fake news, fake understanding, deep fakes. It was always deep fakes.
Yep.
But so we got away from looking at something, drawing it to understand it. That's a different thing. Personally understand it. I don't know if somebody else could understand it from looking at your drawing. Certainly, Thomas Jefferson looked at Lewis and Clark's logs and had some understanding of what a groundhog was. Well, and they brought some of the animals back with them. But unless you were out there on the prairie and observe the groundhogs in their environment, you're not going to have a deep understanding of it. Certainly not looking at a drawing of a groundhog. And so you have to. That's the whole beware of images thing. Do not marry your thinking to images. Know that you're not seeing reality. And you're getting a representation of me right now. I'm getting a representation of you. And I feel like, if I saw you on the street, I would recognize you. But, I certainly wouldn't know you. I don't know if we stood together side by side, how tall you would be. There's so much more to observation than the image. So beware of the image is what I'm saying.
It's really well put, Richard. There was a lot of breakup in that rap, but I basically got the essential of what you're saying. It reminded me of McLuhan's line where the mother is pushing the baby buggy down the street. And the man comes up and looks at the baby and go, wow, what a beautiful baby. And the mother goes, you should see her picture. So that bias of authenticity and beware of images was well done. Yeah. Do artists have moral obligation?
No more or less than humans do. I mean, artists are just humans.
Yeah.
And I think this is where I was going a while ago. I came to the conclusion that sleep is an art, and that people, when you are an artist, when you recognize, when you get a sense of what art is, and having done art, you realize art is everything you do. And I've heard other people say this. Shaving is an art. I mean, you can look at it that way. Whatever activity you're doing is an art. An auto mechanic, there's an art. That's an art. Everything's an art. That doesn't mean everything is art. And we're talking different levels here. But Rod Serling said there are two types of artists: those who control their art and those whose art controls them. And that was a tough lesson for me to learn. But I closed up my cartooning studio 10 years ago, 11 years ago, and I haven't drawn a thing since. And I learned from that my art controlled me, and I came to be able to control your talent. He didn't say art. He said those whose talent controls them, or they control their talent. I feel like now I control my talent. I was guilty. I felt that guilt for a long time, that if I wasn't painting or drawing or creating an image, I was wasting my talent. And you'll hear that from people who are non-artists who don't understand art. They'll say, well, you should be drawing because you're wasting your talent, wasting your God-given talent. Well, I control the talent. The talent doesn't control me. And so I learned from that. Everything I do it the way I would draw. I mean, there's no magic to drawing. Drawing is a very difficult thing. It's hard work. A political cartoon took me all day to do. 4 hours for the pencil, 4 hours for the ink. A caricature of someone, a portrait caricature, an illustration type caricature, not a party caricature. Although I respect those guys, and I know two of the best in the world at party caricature, and it's an amazing talent. But I was more of a Levine, a Jerry Gersten type. David Levine, Jerry Gersten were my influences in caricature, and I became known as a caricaturist in the '80s, and still am. And it's my museum collections are my caricatures basically now. I'm in 3 major museums catering to what I do. But a caricature will take 4 hours, 2 hours for the pencil, 2 hours for the sketch. And it's hard work. And you are exhausted. First of all, you're getting to eat, and you don't feel anything but the flow of the creation of the artwork. And then when it's done, you're exhausted, you're hungry. And so, where does information come from? Where does creativity come from? It comes from out there, and it is channeled through you, and you're tuned into it. And so sleep, like everything else, is an art. But you don't know that until you know that everything is an art, and you have experienced the art of whatever it is you do. And then you treat sleep as an art. And so, do I worry when I go to bed? The answer is the art of sleep is to not think, but to think about one thing. And the thing I think about is this: how comfortable am I? You have to cut off your thinking in order to go to sleep. So, but you can't cut off your thinking, right? So I said, well, if I can't cut off my thinking, at least I'm going to get it down to thinking about just one thing. And I've been successful at that. And I recommend it if you're the type of person who has insomnia from your brain going 1,000,000 miles an hour when you're trying to get to sleep, when you're supposed to get to sleep. Practice that rule. Get it down to one thing. And the thought that I came to as my one thing was, how comfortable am I?
Really good.
If you're not comfortable, do whatever it takes to get comfortable. Ask it again. Go through from your toes all the way up. Do it incrementally, however you need to do it. But once you are comfortable and you're only thinking about that one thing, you will go to sleep. And then I discovered this children's book called Russell the Sheep. I don't even know who the author is, but beautiful illustrations. I worked in a library for 10 years, and I was drawn to the children's section. And it's called Russell the Sheep, and it's about the sheep. Russell, who tries to count sheep. And of course, he knows all the sheep. He's plenty of sheep for him to count, and he starts counting everybody he knows. And, starting with his family, his siblings, his parents, his extended family, his friends, the neighborhood sheep, the flock. And he couldn't get to sleep. He counted every sheep he could imagine. Every sheep he knew, he counted them, couldn't get to sleep until somebody said to him, "Oh, well, you're forgetting one sheep, yourself." And when he counted himself, he went to sleep. And I had come to my art of sleep before I even read that book. And I said, no idea is original. That book is about getting it down to one thing and about it being internal. Sleep, when you're awake, and it's the opposite with awake. At some point, you want to dream, but when you're awake, it's about external. You have to put your thinking and your personality out to the world. But when that, because it's what we do when you go to sleep internally. Sleep is internally. What you're feeling and whether you're comfortable. But without that, if you start thinking about all the things that happen during the day, you're back out there. Inside, count yourself, and then you'll go to sleep.
Okay, Richard just blanked out, and we hope as the connection will be restored. We want you to consider going to his website posted below and learn more about his writings, his book, his political research, and his art. So we sure hope that he will come back in any second now, and the connection will be perfect. And here we go. Let's see. Maybe we gonna. Nope, he's not come back yet. So, again, apologize for the bad connection there. We started off well, and indeed, intriguing conversation. And sometimes these tech things happen. So, so many ideas I need to explore from. And here he is back. Let's hope for the best. Okay. They need to connect their mic and cam before you add them to the stream. So, I'm going to send him an email that says, mic and cam. Okay, let's see if this happens. Oh, there we go. Yay, you're back, Richard. Yeah, the breakup has been pretty bad there. How's it sounding now to you? Oh, yeah, we just have some bad connection. Uh, it's hard to explain because there's so many factors that are involved. It could be your server. Um, oh, dag nabbit, we don't know what it is, but he just went out again, and we will just hope for the best. Some of these lines that he brought up to investigate: beware of platitudes, beware of images, have your cake and eat it too. These bias of authenticity. I wonder if it's something we'll be able to fix. And we just don't know. So let's see if we can get him to re-enter again. Here we go. Let's try this. Oh, there's the old circle just spinning, and maybe he's going to pop in. Richard, can you hear me? Oh, I guess the server's just not being kind today. And maybe we'll have to end and reschedule. Okay, here we go. Richard's there. Oh, and let's see. Oh, if we get back in. Okay, Richard, you're back. Can you hear me? Yeah, we might have to reschedule, but oh, dagnabbit, it did the same thing. Oh, well, And here we go. Let's try. It's not looking good, but maybe it will work. Oh, wow. Look at this visual. Okay, Richard, can you hear me? We can see you, but you're still. All right. Can you hear me okay? I can see you, but your image is frozen or it's very staggered. So maybe um, we went about an hour and then we. Okay, Richard, can you hear me? Seems as though our connection is not good. Not resolving. Well, if we could get. Oh, there we go again. Well, let's say. We'll see if we can get Richard on the phone and then we'll hopefully reschedule. We apologize for this technical problem. Though I'm going to let it roll to see if some miracle happens and the ghost of the machine resolves itself. Oh, let's see. Here we go. Richard is back. Let's hope for the best. Hey, Richard, can you hear me?
Hey, I moved closer to my router.
That might work.
Yeah. So here we are. You know, when my Wi-Fi went to sleep when I told it the trick to going to sleep. No, I'll tell you what it is. It's yourself working on their phones. The bandwidth sinks in my area, so I'm in a lousy area for Wi-Fi for that reason. So podcasts seem to only work when everybody's off their phones, but me. So, but this is an extreme example of that because everybody's literally off work and on their phones now. And, so we'll see if this works.
That last part, I heard you well, so I'm glad we're reconnected. So let's try this one. Are you more afraid of new ideas or more afraid of old ideas?
I'm not afraid of ideas. I want as many ideas as possible.
Good. Can you conjure up your earliest memory ever or one of them?
Yes. 1957 down. I was only one. And it went south to north. I was living in South Oak Cliff, Dallas. And I have a clear memory of seeing it on the horizon from our porch. And it was fairly west of us, which is what would appear on the horizon to me. I've since gone to Wikipedia and looked at the actual route, and it makes total sense that I would have seen it the way I did. But first clear memory, which is very young for most people, would be age one, but it was a tornado. So everything was vague up until, age 3 or 4, whatever. Of course, age 7, as a researcher of Kennedy assassination, that was a defining moment. And anybody has of that day, it was there. And I've come across people who are a year younger than me who have memories of it, but we're getting to the limit of that now. People who have actual memories of the day Kennedy was shot. And yeah, so once you get younger than 6'5", I'm going to have like memories of it. But that's 1967, April, I think it was.
Yeah, we're barely getting about every 8th or 10th word. Is memory?
Yeah, it's that.
We
It's
might,
that bandwidth.
yeah, that's bandwidth. We might reschedule and try to figure out a better way, maybe through a cell phone or something. But let's carry on a little more and see what happens. Is memory more a curse or more a blessing?
It's, well, our reality is based on memory. And so I would say a blessing. Is it a curse? But still, there's a bifurcation fallacy, and it's both. It's
Yeah, I think maybe Richard, we should reschedule and figure out another way, maybe through phone, because it's really been intriguing. But
this is my
I,
phone.
yeah, I know. I'm just saying, but through StreamYard, there's other ways we could do it. Ay, ay, ay. So let's see if a phone call could work. Oh boy, here we go. Hi, Richard. Can you hear me? I can see you. Okay, I think we're gonna just close this out. And hope for the best.
Okay.
Still staggery, but I heard you a little there for a second.
So we should probably reschedule for less bandwidth.
We'll reschedule through email. Let's communicate through email. And thank you so much, Richard. I appreciate your time. Sorry this happened.
How's your schedule? Keep going. We seem to be hooked in at the moment. Oh, you just went out, blinked out. Yeah.
Well, if you call me, we can talk it or email. Yeah.
Hold it up again. Hold it up one more time. Got it. Okay. I got it. All right.
Thank you.
Be in touch. I enjoyed what we did. We got an hour in.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can continue it seamlessly because I can put the
Okay, we're going to close it out now. Sorry. We will continue in the future.